The Catalyst. Commander Ilara Chen stood at the viewing deck of Proxima Station, watching the rusty surface of Proxima Centauri through reinforced glass. The colony below, humanity's first successful settlement around another star, had been her home for 8 years. Tonight, something felt wrong. The planet's artificial atmosphere shield flickered again, the third time this week. "Status report," Ilara demanded, her voice crisp in the quiet control room. "Shield fluctuations at 12% above normal parameters, Commander," replied Lieutenant Santos. "Engineering says it's another glitch in the quantum matrix." Ilara's jaw tightened. These weren't glitches. In 15 years of space service, she'd never seen system failures cluster like this. Life support hiccups, communications delays, and now shield instabilities. Someone, or something, was testing their defenses. "Run another diagnostic. Full spectrum this time." She turned toward the exit. "I need to check on Maya." Her daughter's sickness had begun 3 weeks ago, around the same time as the first system failures. At first, the colony doctors had diagnosed it as adaptation syndrome, common among station children. But when other kids started showing the same symptoms, Ilara's security instincts flared. The medical bay was quieter than usual, the soft beeping of monitors accompanying the hum of air recyclers. Maya lay small and pale on the bed, her 8-year-old frame dwarfed by medical equipment. Dr. Harrison looked up as Ilara entered, his face grave. "We found something," he said quietly, motioning to a holographic display. "Nanoscopic machines in her bloodstream." "They're not ours, Commander." Ilara felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. "Alien technology." "Yes, and they're in all the affected children. The nanites are targeting specific genetic markers only present in developing humans." He hesitated. "They appear designed to harvest something during the death process." "Death?" Ilara's voice cracked. "My daughter is dying. We're doing everything we can, but the nanites are evolving faster than our countermeasures." Maya stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Mom," she whispered, "the stars are singing." Ilara took her daughter's hand, alarmed by its coldness. "I'm here, little one. They're waiting for us." Maya continued, her voice dreamy. "They've been waiting so long." "Who has, sweetie?" "The Guardians. They're sleeping under the oceans." Maya's eyes suddenly focused with alarming clarity. "They need us to wake them up. They need a key." A seizure took Maya then, her body arching as monitors screamed warnings. Medical staff rushed in, pushing Ilara aside. She watched in horror as her daughter's vital signs plummeted. "She's going into cardiac arrest," Dr. Harrison shouted. Despite their desperate efforts, Maya slipped away. The moment her heart stopped, something impossible happened. A pulse of blue-white energy erupted from her body, passing through the medical equipment, through the walls, through Ilara herself. She felt it like an electric current against her skin, carrying with it a sense of immense age and purpose. Station alarms blared immediately. "Commander." Lieutenant Santos's voice came through her comm. "We're detecting a massive energy surge. It's heading toward Earth." Ilara couldn't tear her eyes from her daughter's peaceful face. Even in grief, her analytical mind processed what she'd witnessed. This was no coincidence. The system's failures, the nanites targeting children, and now this energy release. They were under attack by an enemy that knew exactly what they were doing. "Seal the station," she ordered through numb lips. "Level 1 quarantine. No ships leave until we understand what's happening." The energy pulse that had emerged from Maya traveled faster than should have been possible, reaching Earth within minutes instead of the 4 years light would take. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in chambers undisturbed for millennia, ancient systems began to awaken. In installations hidden under every continent, buried beneath ice sheets and desert sands, machines older than human civilization stirred to life. They had waited for this specific signal, this particular energy signature that could only come from the innocent sacrifice of a genetically compatible child. On Earth, The first sign came as a global aurora, lights dancing in the sky even at the equator. Then the earthquakes began, not destructive, but precise, as if something vast was carefully repositioning itself. Admiral Winston Pierce stood in the Pentagon's crisis room, surrounded by holographic displays showing simultaneous anomalies worldwide. "Someone tell me what the hell is happening to my planet," he demanded. A young scientist stepped forward. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures under every major ocean. Something's rising." "Chinese? Russians? Atlanteans?" the Admiral asked, only half joking about the last one. "No, sir," the scientist replied, face pale. "The technology signatures are like nothing we've ever seen, and they're broadcasting a message in every known human language simultaneously." "What message?" "It says, the children's sacrifice is accepted. The architect's legacy awakens. Prepare for ascension." As if in response, the seas began to part. From the depths rose massive structures, sleek vessels of impossible design, both mechanical and somehow organic, their hulls bearing symbols that matched patterns now appearing in Maya's DNA on Proxima Station. They rose by the hundreds, then thousands, a dormant Armada awakening from ancient slumber. Back on Proxima Station, Ilara cradled her daughter's body, unaware that Maya's death had just changed the course of human history. The grief was a physical pain, a burning in her chest that demanded release. She didn't notice when her tears fell on Maya's skin and seemed to absorb into it, leaving behind faint luminescent patterns. As the doctors respectfully pulled a sheet over Maya's face, Ilara's grief transformed into resolve. Whatever had taken her daughter, whatever had used children as pawns, would face humanity's wrath. She didn't yet understand that she herself would be the instrument of that vengeance, or that the strange burning sensation within her chest was the first sign of her own awakening. 12 hours later, Ilara received the transmission from Earth. The message was brief but changed everything. "Commander Chen, you are recalled to Earth immediately. Your daughter's death has activated something. Something that has been waiting for us to evolve. We need you here, you specifically." As Ilara prepared for cryosleep aboard the fastest ship available, she wondered why they needed her. The answer lay in her DNA, in a heritage she never knew she carried, and in the grief that now burned in her heart like a star-going supernova. The ship broke orbit, accelerating toward the wormhole that would take her home. Behind her, more children on Proxima Station began to die, each death releasing another pulse of the strange energy. The enemy had made a critical error. They had not expected their harvest to trigger Earth's ancient defense system. They had not known that human children carried the genetic key to weapons of unimaginable power. And they had no idea what a parent's grief could do when harnessed as a weapon. The inheritance. 3 weeks later, Ilara stood on the deck of a naval vessel in the mid-Pacific, staring at what should have been impossible. A massive structure rose from the ocean floor, a perfect pyramid 10 kilometers tall, its surface a seamless black material that absorbed light. Similar structures had emerged from every major ocean on Earth, and with them, the ships, thousands of them, hovering silently above the water. "We've estimated there are over 30,000 vessels," Admiral Pierce explained as they observed from a safe distance. "They appeared simultaneously after your daughters, after the event on Proxima." "And you think I'm connected to them?" Ilara asked, her voice hollow from grief. The Admiral nodded. "The vessels respond to certain individuals, people who share a specific genetic marker, people who have lost a child recently." A cold shiver ran down Ilara's spine. "How many others?" 317 so far, all parents who lost children in the past year, mostly to diseases or accidents we now suspect were engineered. The implications were staggering. Some force had been systematically targeting children, testing, perhaps, until they found the right genetic combinations. "The ships won't let anyone else approach," the Admiral continued, "but they're broadcasting directly to the selected individuals. Are you hearing anything?" Ilara had been trying to ignore the whispers at the edge of her consciousness since arriving on Earth. Now, standing before the pyramid, they became impossible to disregard. "They're calling it the inheritance," she admitted. "They say we're the descendants of something called the architects, that we've finally proven worthy." The Admiral's eyes widened. "You can understand them." "Not exactly. It's more like memories being unlocked in my mind. Knowledge that was always there, dormant." A team of scientists approached, led by Dr. Samira Khan, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "Commander Chen, we'd like to run some tests. Your genetic structure has begun showing unusual patterns, the same symbols appearing on the ships." "Like Maya's," Ilara whispered. Dr. Khan nodded grimly. "The children were targeted because they carried more pronounced markers of the architect genome. Their deaths weren't just attacks, they were triggering events, keys turning in locks that have been waiting for millennia." The next day, Ilara and the other compatible parents were brought to a newly established base beside the Pacific Pyramid. There, in a sterile laboratory, Dr. Khan revealed what they'd discovered. "Human beings are not entirely natural," she explained, displaying complex genetic models. "Approximately 180,000 years ago, our genome was modified by an advanced species, the architects. They were fighting a war against entities we're calling harvesters, the same beings who attacked Proxima Station." "Why us?" asked Thomas Reeves, a father from Australia who had lost his son 6 months ago. "Why Earth?" "The architects were losing their war," Dr. Khan continued. "They needed a safe place to hide their weapons and knowledge. They chose Earth, encoded their technology into the planet itself, and seeded our species with genetic keys that would eventually unlock their legacy. We weren't just given intelligence. We were designed as inheritors." Ilara stared at her own DNA display, watching as certain sequences pulsed with faint light. "And our grief? What does that have to do with this?" An older scientist stepped forward. "The architect's weapons run on emotional energy, particularly the powerful emotional release that comes from a parent losing a child. It's the strongest force they could harness." The realization struck Ilara like a physical blow. "You're saying my daughter died to power a weapon?" "No," Dr. Khan said firmly. "The harvesters killed your daughter to feed on her death energy. They've been doing this across countless worlds for millions of years. They didn't realize that on Earth, those deaths would awaken the architect's defense system." That night, Ilara stood alone on the shore, watching the massive ships hovering above the water. The burning sensation in her chest had grown stronger, a constant reminder of her loss. She didn't resist when one of the smaller vessels descended, a hatch opening in its seamless hull. Inside, she found not a cockpit but a chamber that seemed to breathe, surfaces flowing like liquid metal. As she approached the center, the ship spoke directly into her mind. "Greetings, Inheritor. We have waited long for one such as you." "What are you?" she asked aloud. "We are the Sentinels, created by those you call architects. We were left to protect their greatest creation, humanity, until you were ready to defend yourselves. Against the harvesters. Yes, they are ancient, as are we. They consume the death energy of innocent beings, particularly children, whose life force is purest. The architects fought them to a stalemate, but at great cost. Rather than face extinction, they seeded their legacy here, knowing that one day the harvesters would find Earth." Images flooded Ilara's mind. A vast war across the stars, civilizations rising and falling, the architect's final desperate plan. "Why my daughter? Why any of our children?" The harvesters have been testing human genetics, seeking those with the strongest architect markers. They did not understand that by killing these children, they were providing exactly the catalyst needed to awaken us. A holographic display appeared, showing a massive fleet approaching the solar system, far larger than the force that had attacked Proxima. "They come in force now. They sensed our awakening and seek to destroy Earth before the full legacy can be claimed. We require pilots, Inheritor. We require your grief. Understanding dawned on Ilara. The ships are powered by emotion. By the purest emotional energy, a parent's love transformed by loss into something the harvesters cannot corrupt or consume. Will you serve as conduit? The burning in Ilara's chest intensified. If it means stopping them from taking another child, yes. The chamber around her shifted, forming a neural interface that melded with her body. Through it, she felt the vast consciousness of the vessel, ancient, patient, and terrible in its purpose. We are synchronized, Inheritor Chen. Your grief is now our strength. Across the globe, similar scenes played out as bereaved parents bonded with the ancient vessels. Within days, a new force had formed, the Inheritor fleet, crewed by those whose loss had transformed them into living weapons. Engineers and scientists worked frantically to understand the technology, while military strategists prepared for a war unlike any humanity had faced. Admiral Pierce found Ilara on the deck of her vessel, now permanently linked to its systems through patterns of light that flowed beneath her skin. The Harvester fleet will reach Mars orbit in 3 days, he said without preamble. Our conventional forces can't even slow them down. It's all on you and the other Inheritors. Ilara nodded, her eyes now containing flecks of the same blue-white energy that had emerged from Maya's body. We'll be ready. The ships are teaching us what we need to know. And what is that exactly? How to turn grief into a weapon that can unmake stars. The Admiral studied her, concern evident. Are you still, you, Commander? Ilara considered the question. The neural link had changed her, filling her mind with ancient knowledge and purpose. Yet at her core remained the raw wound of her daughter's death, and the determination that no other parent would suffer the same fate. On what I need to be, she answered finally. What Maya's death made me. As she spoke, the massive fleet of sentinel vessels rose from oceans worldwide, their hulls gleaming with power drawn from the most primal human emotion, a parent's love, transformed by loss into righteous fury. The harvesters had fed on innocent deaths for eons. Now they would face the consequence. Humanity awakened to its true heritage, armed with the legacy of the architects, and driven by a force more powerful than any weapon. Grief. Humanity's wrath. The Harvester fleet darkened the skies of Mars, thousands of obsidian vessels in tight formation. Their design was organic and unsettling, less like ships and more like massive predators frozen in space. At their center loomed the Hive ship, a structure larger than Earth's moon, pulsing with the stolen energy of countless innocent deaths. In Earth orbit, Ilara stood on the command deck of her Sentinel vessel, now named Memoria in honor of Maya. Through the neural link, she sensed the other Inheritors, 317 parents united by loss, their grief transformed into the energy that powered the ancient fleet. They're scanning us, reported Thomas Reeves from his ship, Redemption, trying to understand what they're facing. Let them look, Ilara replied, her voice carrying through the neural network that connected all Inheritors. Let them see what they've awakened. Admiral Pierce's voice came through conventional communications. Inheritor fleet, you are cleared to engage. Earth stands with you. Ilara closed her eyes, placing her hand on the living metal of her ship's control interface. The burning grief in her chest, a constant companion since Maya's death, flowed through her into the vessel's systems. Around her, the ship transformed, its previously smooth hull developing intricate patterns that glowed with blue-white energy. For the children, she whispered. As one, the Inheritor fleet surged forward, 300 vessels against thousands. But these weren't ordinary ships. They were the architect's masterworks, designed specifically to counter the Harvester's advantages. The enemy struck first, firing dark energy weapons that had devastated countless civilizations. The beams should have disintegrated the Sentinel vessels instantly. Instead, the ships absorbed the attacks, their hulls pulsing brighter. They're using death energy, Ilara realized through the neural link. the same energy our ships are designed to transform and redirect. The Sentinels responded with weapons of their own, not beams or missiles, but distortions in reality itself. Where they struck, harvester ships simply ceased to exist, their component atoms scattered across multiple dimensions. The harvesters adjusted quickly, switching to conventional weapons, antimatter warheads and gravitational disruptors. These proved more effective, damaging several Sentinel vessels and severing the neural connections of their inheritors. Ilara felt each loss like a physical blow. "Titan formation," she ordered. "Remember what the ships taught us. Our emotional resonance is stronger when focused together." The surviving inheritors linked their grief, creating a harmonic wave of energy that flowed between their vessels. The ships responded by transforming again, their hulls flowing like liquid as they merged into larger, more powerful configurations. In the midst of battle, Ilara received a direct communication from the Harvester High ship, a signal targeted specifically at her neural implant. Curiosity overrode caution, and she accepted the connection. The being that appeared in her mind was unlike anything she had expected. Not monstrous, but eerily beautiful, a crystalline entity pulsing with stolen life force. "Architect child," it addressed her, its voice resonating painfully in her consciousness. "You wield weapons you do not understand." "I understand enough," Ilara responded. "You killed my daughter. One death to feed many lives. This is the natural order. We have sustained ourselves thus for billions of years." Through the connection, Ilara glimpsed the Harvester civilization, ancient beyond comprehension, having survived the birth and death of countless galaxies by feeding on the energy released at the moment of innocent deaths. "There is nothing natural about what you do," she countered. "You target children specifically because their deaths produce the most energy. You're parasites, not predators. We offered your architect ancestors a place in our collective." The entity continued. "They refused. They sought to protect lesser species, to elevate them instead of accepting the hierarchy of consumption. Their foolish compassion led to their extinction." Ilara pushed deeper into the connection, searching for weaknesses in the hive mind. What she found instead was history, the true nature of the eternal conflict between architects and harvesters. "You're lying," she realized. "The architects aren't extinct. They became us." The crystalline entity pulsed with what might have been surprise. "Impossible. We monitored their decline. Their final worlds fell millennia ago. Their civilization fell, but their essence survived, encoded in our DNA, waiting for the right moment to awaken. We are their legacy." Through the neural link, Ilara shared this revelation with the other inheritors. The knowledge transformed their grief into something even more powerful, a sense of purpose and continuity. They were not just bereaved parents. They were the culmination of an ancient plan, the final move in a game spanning millions of years. The Sentinel ships responded to this collective realization, their systems accessing capabilities that had remained dormant until this moment. The vessels began to resonate at a frequency that disrupted the Harvester's energy absorption. "Cut the connection," Thomas warned Ilara. "They're trying to trace back to your ship." But Ilara maintained the link, probing deeper into the hive mind. "You've been running so long you've forgotten how to fight," she told the crystalline entity. "You're so used to harvesting defenseless worlds that you never considered one might be a trap." The entity's beautiful form flickered with alarm. "What have you done?" "I haven't done anything yet," Ilara replied. "But the architects left us more than just ships." With that, she activated the final protocol. The true purpose of the strange pyramids that had risen from Earth's oceans. They were not merely bases or construction facilities. They were amplifiers, designed to focus and project the emotional energy of an entire planet. Across Earth, humans felt a momentary connection, a flash of shared consciousness linking every mind. In that instant, every person on the planet understood what had happened to the children of Proxima, felt the grief of the inheritors, and contributed their own emotional response to the network. The pyramids captured this collective emotional surge. Billions of humans united in outrage and determination, and channeled it to the inheritor fleet. Ilara's ship Memoria became the focal point, its systems reconfiguring to handle the massive influx of energy. The other Sentinel vessels arranged themselves in a precise geometric pattern around hers, forming a lens that would direct the coming blast. The Harvester entity recognized the threat too late. This cannot be. The energy requirements are impossible. Nothing is impossible, Ilara replied, thinking of Maya, when protecting our children. She released the connection and gave the command. The inheritor fleet fired as one, not a conventional weapon, but a wave of pure, transformed energy that reversed the Harvester's own feeding mechanism. Instead of absorbing death energy, the wave forced the Harvester vessels to release all they had consumed over millennia. The effect was immediate and devastating. Harvester ships began to collapse in on themselves, the stolen energy tearing them apart from within. The Hive ship resisted longer, its ancient systems struggling to adapt, but eventually succumbed to the same fate. As the massive vessel disintegrated, Ilara perceived one final message from the crystalline entity. This is not the end. Others will come. And we'll be waiting, she answered, though the connection was already gone. The battle ended not with the dramatic explosion typical of space warfare, but with a silent implosion of dark energy as the Harvester fleet was unmade by its own stolen power. Where thousands of ships had been, only scattered particles remained, gradually dispersing into the void. The inheritor fleet, though damaged, maintained formation. Through the neural link, Ilara sensed the other parents, their grief still present, but now balanced by something else. Purpose. It's over, Thomas said, his voice tired but relieved. This battle is, Ilara corrected. The war has just begun. 3 months later, Ilara stood before the United Earth Council, her appearance subtly altered by her continued neural link with Memoria. Faint patterns of light moved beneath her skin, and her eyes held the blue-white glow of architect technology. The Harvesters will return, she informed the assembled leaders. Not soon, but eventually. They've existed for billions of years by consuming the death energy of innocent beings across countless worlds. They won't stop because of one defeat. And you propose? Asked the council president. The architects left us more than weapons, Ilara explained. They left us knowledge. Star maps marking thousands of worlds where developing civilizations will soon attract the Harvester's attention. Worlds with children who will be targeted just like Maya was. She projected a holographic display of the galaxy, highlighting numerous systems where life was evolving. We have a choice. We can focus solely on Earth's defense, or we can become what the architects intended, guardians of those who cannot protect themselves. Admiral Pierce, now heading Earth's unified defense forces, stepped forward. The Inheritor fleet is prepared to extend our protection to these worlds. With the architect's technology, we can reach them in time. The debate lasted for days, but the outcome was never really in doubt. Humanity had glimpsed its true heritage and purpose. They were not just survivors of an attack, but inheritors of a sacred trust, the protection of innocent life throughout the galaxy. 1 year after Maya's death, the first Guardian fleet departed Earth orbit, Sentinel vessels crewed by inheritors and supported by conventional human ships. Their mission: to establish outposts at key systems, create early warning networks, and prepare developing civilizations for the threat they would eventually face. Ilara, now Admiral Chen, stood on Memoria's observation deck as Earth receded behind them. The burning grief in her chest had transformed over time, becoming a steady flame that powered both her neural link and her determination. "I wish you could see this, Maya," she whispered, "what your sacrifice made possible." Through her enhanced senses, Ilara felt rather than heard her ship's response, a harmonic resonance that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat. "She knows," Memoria communicated. "The energy pattern that was your daughter continues to exist, transformed but not destroyed. It is part of what powers us now." Ilara placed her hand against the living metal of the ship's wall, feeling the patterns of light sync with her own. Then let's make her proud. The Inheritor fleet accelerated to faster-than-light speed, humanity's first step as guardians of the galaxy. The harvesters had awakened Earth's dormant armada, expecting an easy harvest. Instead, they had created their most formidable enemy, a species armed with architect technology and driven by the most powerful force in existence, a parent's love. The war was just beginning. But for the first time in billions of years, the harvesters had reason to fear. Humanity's wrath had been unleashed.